Welcome to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, where we believe that in order to build a life-changing business, you need passionate leadership, smart operations, and of course, powerful marketing. My name is Josh Coffey, and for the last 11-ish years, I've been helping e-commerce businesses generate hundreds of millions in sales through marketing and strategic thinking and teaching ways of operating their businesses. And so we do this, and we actually help businesses do this through tons of things like training and courses and coaching. And so if you're interested in any of that stuff, go ahead and check the links in the description. You'll be able to see different things that we might be able to help you with, or little courses and free training you might be able to go through that we offer. Now, in this episode, I'm super excited because we're going to talk about something that I don't always talk about. So when we talk about building a life-changing business, we look at leadership, we look at operations, and we look at marketing. And I talk a lot about marketing because marketing is usually the largest constraint for businesses. But I want to move over a little bit. I want to talk about operations and maybe a little bit of leadership in here. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about how my wonderful assistant, Brei, helps run our businesses, helps run pretty much my life. And if Brei really wanted to, she could steal all of our identity, steal all of our money, run away, and probably get away with it. But thank goodness she doesn't. And so in this episode, what we're going to do is I want to get in the weeds of this stuff, because I've always wondered, what is it like behind the scenes? Like, what does a role look like for an assistant? What does the relationship look like? What are the capabilities? How much time does it take to do certain things? What type of things does an assistant do for you? And so I'm going to get behind the scenes with Brei here on our meeting flows, tools we use, maybe how much time she spends on different aspects of the business, the level of authority that she has to operate and move inside of our business, what the goal of an assistant really should be, because I believe there's really only one goal. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I really want to get into the weeds because I don't think this is talked about. I think there's a lot of high level stuff talked about this. And it took me 10 years to pull the trigger on hiring an assistant. I've hired everybody else. I've hired out all of this stuff. And it wasn't until year 10 that I hired Brei as my assistant. And after that, my life got way better. And it's like, man, I wish I did this forever ago. But on the downside, I wouldn't have Brei. So maybe it's a good thing that I waited. So without further ado, I want to welcome to the big leagues, to the set, Brei Counts, or Brianna. That's your full name.
That is my full name. Yep.
The official full name. Brei, welcome. How do you feel?
I feel great. Also, you're making my head really big over here.
Hey, that's part of my job, is just to inflate everybody's ego. So
fair enough. You do a good job at it.
So you've been watching the podcast forever, and now you get to actually be on it. So let's start with you, just so everybody has a picture of who the heck Brei Counts is. How long have you been my assistant?
So I think 9 months. I started the day after you and Kelsey announced to us that you guys were pregnant, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
Yep, so 9 months on the 13th.
But who's counting?
Who's counting?
Man, that's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels like a lot. It feels like a lot longer. Maybe because we've just done so much stuff.
That's fair.
There's so much stuff going on.
Yeah, between like work and personal, because we spend a lot of time together personally with like friendships and stuff. So yeah it's.
And I think the other thing too is like you're in person, which is a lot different. So some people listening might be like, well, I have a virtual assistant, or you've heard of a VA, right? A virtual assistant. And I think that you have to come to a decision as to whether you go virtual, whether you go in person. And so obviously we're in person. So I think that we get to share a lot more stories and situations and problem solving. So maybe it just feels like we've been through a lot more stuff because we see each other every day.
Yeah. I was also around a little bit too beforehand.
I guess that's fair. So. Yeah. So walk everyone through like how did we even meet?
So it's funny, Dylan he had begged you to hire him for the longest time. And then finally you're like, I guess I have to. This kid's annoying. So here we are. And then after that, the rest is history. I mean, we kind of just, after he started, then we started hanging out some more, and then we started doing trips together, and
Yeah.
9 months later. Well, I guess it's been like 3 or 4 years.
9 months later.
9 months later.
We birthed Brei
Here
into so it's pretty crazy. So our team is very tight knit. We have, if you don't know, we have a physical office in downtown Ashland, Ohio. Everybody on our team except 2 are local. And then 1 is in Canada and 1's down in North Carolina. But everybody else on our whole team is local. And it's because for me, I value in person. Like I really value human connection and in a physical format. Like I just love seeing people. I love having an office. I love that, like you guys decked it out for Christmas. We love Christmas around here. So I love coming into that office. So our whole team is local. And so Brei's husband, Dylan, if you don't know Dylan's been producing our show for a long time. He's a coach on our team as well. Like Dylan does a lot. He plans our client experiences, which the next one we're actually wrapping up right now is in San Francisco, which is in April, which is going to be amazing. And so I've been working with Dylan. Dylan's been in the team a little over 3 years, I think. Mm-hmm. Is it over 3 years?
Yep.
Okay, you probably know better than I. So Dylan's been working with us for over 3 years. And because we're so tight as a team and we work in person and stuff like that, our team is pretty involved in each other's lives. And we're kind of weird in the manner that actually this morning we're talking about it. When we do team retreats every year, and we allow spouses to come to certain things. So like in San Francisco, anyone's +1 is able to fly out. We'll pay for all of that. And then, so we get to actually do life together. And I remember last year, last year, we were in Toronto. We were doing a team retreat up in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, anyone can bring their spouse if they want to. Obviously, the team's going to be doing some planning for 3 days, but we'll be there for like 5 or 6. And the spouses will have to figure out what they do during those planning days. And so you were the only spouse that ended up coming with us. And so it's like all of our team planning and doing all this stuff. And then Brei just has this mansion of a house to herself to
Pretty
basically,
much.
I mean, it was 3 floors. I don't know. It was gorgeous.
Huge. Gym.
It had like
room,
a gym, theater. Yeah. So Brei has this whole place to herself. And we were talking at the time of like, who is our next hire? And I believe that when you hire, you need to hire to buy back your time. And I learned this from a book by Dan Martell called Buy Back Your Time. Pretty straightforward what the book is about. And so I had read this book, Buy Back Your Time, a few months prior. And we're at the team retreat in December, not last year, but 2023. And because we're filming this in beginning of 25. And I had read this book and we're determining who our next hire was. And I remember we were like, either Josh needs an assistant or we need a new salesperson. And it was like these 2 things we had to like juggle between the 2. And I remember at the time, your name got thrown in the hat. I don't know if did Dylan tell you?
No.
He didn't tell you. Okay.
No.
Okay, so good man. So we were looking at who my assistant would be, and we're like, do we go virtual? Do we go in person? And because I value in person, obviously, I'm like, I really want someone in person. And we had this roster of local people that like, I have people in my bench. I call them bench warmers. They're in the back of my brain for future hires. They're just warming the bench. Sometimes they warm it for a year or 2 years or 5 or 10 years, but eventually they join the team if I play my cards right. And your name got thrown in the ring with this whole list of people we've been talking about. And someone, I forget who was, brought up like, well, what about Brei? And there were some concerns about adding another family member of someone that wasn't our family, because we have a lot of family.
Yeah.
We have 5 family members of ours in the company. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, well, we don't know if we want to add Dylan's wife to the team.
Because we were just recently married too at that point.
You were literally married for like a week.
Yeah, literally.
It was 1 week.
Yeah.
And so we're like, I don't know. And so, my dad was like, well, you know what? Let's put Brei to a test. We have some clients in the Toronto area. We invited 3 clients over to the Airbnb. We're just going to hang out with them. And I was like, and do this like Christmas thing. And I was like, let's just have Brei plan the whole thing and see how she does. Because an assistant would need to do a lot of stuff. And let's just see how she acts on her feet and no timing, and we'll give her a budget. And so Brei coordinates this epic event. Like, our clients show up to the Airbnb. We're all dressed in like red and black flannels. Yeah. And we're like singing. We have curling on the TV, and we welcome them with the most Canadian thing. The Canadian theme song's playing.
Yeah, the Canadian national anthem
anthem is playing. And so we threw Brei into the fire, which was actually really fun. And she like crushed it and delivered on it. And so I was like, okay, now Brei is on the bench. She's warming a bench for the right time. And then we hired a salesperson who started in January, Andrew. Mm-hmm. another brother of mine. And so he started in January. And then fast forward a little bit, and then you finally joined the team in May, which, yeah, wow. So that's kind of how we got to this point, which has been really fun. And thank goodness it worked out.
Yeah.
Or else it would have really been awkward at all the Christmas parties and gatherings with our team. You probably wouldn't want to +1 our trips.
It might have been cheaper for you.
Yeah, you would have backed out. Yeah, right. So tell me, I want to get into the weeds in just a moment here. But for you, what has been like the best and the worst part of your role?
Yeah. So I'd say the best part. So I came from, I'm going to say corporate world, like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You show up, you do what you need to do, and you leave. So I'd say the best part is literally coming into a team that I adore. Like, you guys are a second family. And then the freedom, just overall being like, Dylan and I in the last 9 months have gone to Disney World like 100 times. No way would that have ever been possible.
Every 3 days.
Literally, it's what it felt like. Every time we left Disney, we had another countdown going. We're insane.
To some people, that does not sound positive. So that might be the worst part.
That's
no,
fair.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That's fair. So yeah, the freedom, and then just like I said, coming to work, it's with the office. And Dylan likes to work at home, but I'm like, nope, I'm going into the office. I want to be with everybody. So that makes a big difference. And I'd say the worst part is Jake. Kind of kidding. No, I'm kidding.
That guy's the worst. And you know what the best part is? All of our sales guys have to listen to every podcast episode. So as soon as this releases, he's going to hear that.
Yeah, he's not going to know until then.
Call it out by name.
No, he's always coming to me and is like, hey, can you get me this? Can you get me that? Just kidding, Jake. We love you.
See, sometimes some people think that Brei is the company assistant, and they forget that she's not.
We're talking to you, Jacob.
Yeah.
No, for real. Like, I'd say nothing is the worst part. And I know that sounds super cliche, but again, coming from the corporate world, and like, there's always clicks, there's always, conversations behind people's backs and all of that kind of stuff. Like, here it's just like, we're all in this together. We're one big High School Musical, and we all love each other, and it's truly just a joy coming in every single day.
Did you say we're like the High School Musical?
You know it.
We're all like walking through the hallways, like,
yeah, we just break out into song whenever we want.
You got to get your head in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was really cringe, Josh. I think it is interesting because when and this is just kind of a rabbit trail here, but you have this opportunity as an entrepreneur to build a business that you love. Like, why would you build a business that you don't love? So like, I've never understood how founders will build companies to a point where everyone is freaking miserable. Like, it just makes, like, why would you? I would rather descale the company to fix the fun joy equation and then start regrowing again. Mm-hmm. And so I think what's cool, it's like we've been able to create a company that we love every single day. And I'd say for anybody listening, like, it all begins with you. So whether you have an assistant now, whether you don't, whether you're thinking about it, it starts with you. Like, you set the bar for the culture, and you set the bar for the fun bar as well. Like, if you don't intentionally figure out how do I create a culture and an environment in which I thrive and love and enjoy what I do, then nobody else is going to. And so I think we've been able to do that, which you're right. Every day I'm like, oh, I just can't wake up. Like, I can't wait. We're talking on the way here. Like, you're waking up early now and you're like, I was able to have this knocked out by 6:30 a.m. I'm like, welcome. It's freaking awesome. When you wake up, I start working at 5:30 a.m. and it's like, you get so much done, so much deep thinking, and it's quiet and it's peaceful and it's like a lot of deep work, and it's a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Now, what I would say is this is I wanted to list off just a couple of signs before we get into what Brei does, our meeting flows, our tools, our coffee empire management system, all of that stuff. I want to talk through just a couple of like symptoms or maybe signs that you need an assistant. And so I just bulleted these off. I just want to read these because I don't have all these memorized, but I wrote them down and I want to read them off here. So number one, if you're spending too much time on routine tasks like answering emails, scheduling, data entry, leaving little time for high level work. And this is like a high dollar per hour stuff that you should be doing that you can't do because you're doing things like that. Or maybe your inbox is a disaster and you just struggle to keep up with your messages, your follow-ups, calendar invites, if you have, let me say this. I had a friend that was like bragging about this on social media the other day. An entrepreneur friend of mine, he posted and he has like 500,000 or 600,000, the red bubble next to your inbox, and it's like 622,419. And I'm like, it's like, is that a badge? Like, is that a badge of honor? Your inbox is a mess. You're not filtering anything. It's not being organized properly. And how much opportunity is in there that you just aren't seeing because of that. And so maybe your inbox is a disaster. Maybe you forget appointments. You double book yourself. I've done plenty of that. You miss deadlines. Your schedule feels chaotic. You're like stuck in the weeds of like daily ops, and you're not able to focus on these bigger picture growth opportunities. Maybe like your tasks just keep piling, like tiny tasks, keep piling and piling. And then you're like, if you feel like you're always trying to play catch up, you might need an assistant. Or maybe team members, this is a big one. If you have a team, do all of your team members rely on you for decision-making that shouldn't require you? But it does because you don't have anyone else that could operate as your proxy or on your behalf. Are you managing, this is a big one too, are you managing customer support? Are you managing your own inbox? Are you managing your own calendar? Are you following up with people? Are you booking your own travel? Are you finding your own Airbnbs? Or are you spending time doing the things that actually matter? Because I believe that if you don't operate like 90 to 95% of your time in your zone of genius, which are just simply activities that utilize your unique talents, that allow you to feel effortless in your movement as an entrepreneur and bring you joy while also bringing extraordinary, wonderful results, that's zone of genius. And if you don't spend 90 to 95% of your time in that, then there's a lot of times you're probably not having fun and you're not moving at the pace that you could be moving if you got to do that. And so I think there's always the small stuff that you can't avoid. That's that 5 to 10% that it's life. You can't really get away from that. But if any of those sound like your life or a part of your life, you probably need to begin looking at your next hire being an assistant, not hiring out advertising, not hiring out the high leverage activities, high dollar per hour activities that you should be learning and you should be doing right now, but rather outsourcing the things that would allow you to move into your zone of genius and those higher leverage activities. Because I believe that there's one goal, and that is to buy back your time. And again, I'm referencing this. This is an incredible book. If you haven't read it, by Dan Martell, Buy Back Your Time. Best book, one of the best books, along with Profit First, that you'll read all year. And I highly recommend you do it because when you should hire to buy back your time, not hire to grow. And this was a mistake that I made for a decade. I would hire to grow, not buy back my time. So here's what happens. When you hire to grow, then you're hiring to do all these additional things, but you're still doing the things that are not your greatest zone of genius and your unique capabilities that allow you to move with greater speed. It would be better to hire someone to take those off your plate that would allow you to move fluidly and have more freedom in the things that you love and that you're good at and that are high leverage. You'll move way quicker and grow way quicker than if you hire just to add another thing to what you're not doing already. And so if that resonates, then definitely keep listening. I think this is gonna be a really helpful episode. Let's get behind the scenes. Let's get in. I really do want to get into the weeds though, Brei, because I think that this stuff is really, really important for people to hear. Mm-hmm. Let's start. Talk to me about our hub, like the coffee management system.
Yeah.
Talk about
that. We have like a giant Notion profile, I guess. If you're not familiar with Notion, it's fantastic.
Yes.
I love it. But it's got everything, like to the point where I started locking Notion, like, because I have it on my phone, because I'm like, if somebody steals my phone, like Josh's whole life is there. So we have everything down to like,
yeah, we probably need good security protocol. It's literally everything.
It's everything. I mean, down to car insurance. Like the other day Josh just got a new vehicle and I was like, oh yeah, I need the new insurance because you never know when you're going to need it. Yeah. But we have everything in there. So anything that I could ever need is in our little coffee empire, basically.
Yeah.
Between that and we use Slack a lot to communicate with ourselves, communicate with the team, trying to keep up with like what does the team need from Josh on my end. Just keeping that in the back of my radar at all times. I'd say those are the big ones. We use a couple of other little tools if you wanted to get into the weeds of that part. But the coffee management thing is just everything. Like you can't even, if you need it, it's in there.
I want to give everyone, obviously you all don't have access to this because this is a Notion database that has like links, it has pages, it has resources. I want to read off a couple of things to give you examples tangibly of what is in this. And I believe that you need this as a company, and you should use this for your life because it's going to make your life a lot better. So I'm going to give you a couple examples here. So in the coffee management system, I have like Josh's info, company information. I have, and these are big categories. We have Josh's preferences. Then I have my own little workspace for stuff. I have Brei's workspace, and then we have like weekly and daily stuff. So inside of these, we have like personal data under Josh's info, where it's like everything from insurance to social security to like any document. What do we even have? Social security. I have my like passport information in there, driver's license, scans, everything in there. So Brei has the autonomy to act on my behalf in any regards. If we're booking travel, it doesn't matter what it is, Brei has access to that. We have accounts. We actually use LastPass for that though. So Brei has access to a folder in LastPass, which is our secure password saving thing, to literally everything from banks. I mean, you're on our bank account every day. You were in our bank account earlier today. Bank accounts to, I mean, literally anything that I have access to, Brei has access to. We have important dates. This is where like we list out anniversaries of family and close friends and people that matter to us. We have anniversaries, we have birthdays. And then that way what happens is every week, Brei can look at what are the upcoming dates, and I can say, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday. It's so-and-so's anniversary. Let's go ahead and get them a gift. And then Brei can go, and then she'll like scour social media, and she could get a gift, or she'll just text one of my brothers or sister-in-laws to find like, hey, what is Charlotte into? What is Henry into, et cetera. And then be able to get those gifts. She has personal contacts. We have company information, company objectives. I think some of the most important things, I'm not gonna go through, there's like 30 different subcategories in here with like pages of stuff. But just a couple of things that I think are really important is like inbox management. This is where like in here, I break down my requirements. So like best time of day for Brei to clear my inbox, best time of day for Josh to check inbox. So Brei will check 9 a.m. or before we do our one-on-one, which is usually 9:30. Best time of day for me, I'll check at 4:30. So I don't even check my inbox until the end of the day. And then even things like this, like who responds to the emails? Like you or me? Talk everyone through that. Like how do you typically do it?
Yeah, so it depends on the, I guess, basically inquiry. If you have somebody reaching out to you like, hey, let's do this, let's do that, I will respond as myself saying, hey, this is Brei, such and such to whatever the email body needs to be. Or if we have some like clients, some members of ours, I will respond as Josh and say, hey, this is Josh, this is what's up. So that is very helpful, especially when I first started, of knowing, who do I need to be at that exact moment, pretty much. So
yeah, and so one of the best things that we started doing is if you have it could be someone personally, it could be, I mean, this is a great scenario across the board. So it could be someone personally, it could be a business colleague, it could be a customer, it could be a client, whatever. Being able to send an email as you so like a lot of people try to get around the system. Like I have a system built where I have team, we have support, we have coaches, we have other avenues to answer 99.9% of questions. But sometimes people know I could Facebook message Josh or DM Josh or shoot Josh an email, right? People could just try to go around it. And so what's really powerful is when anyone tries to do that, or people try to cold prospect me or whatever that is, Brei can respond and say like, hey, first name, this is Brei, Josh's assistant. I got to this before he could, and then insert whatever it is. And so it starts to train people that like people can't just get to you. So I never understood the whole like in the sales world, there's the idea of like, hey, you got to get through the gatekeeper. And then now I'm like, oh, I understand it now. Because imagine if just everybody could get straight to you, it would slow you down from doing the greatest things that you're good at doing. And so Brei is like, you got to get through Brei to get to me. And I think that's super, super cool. But we have how do we manage the inbox? We have labeling systems for like how every email is labeled, whether we need to delegate it. She'll read the emails for me and mark it as, walk through I think the labeling system is really neat. Can you talk about that?
So let's see. We have so many different labels. And
I'll drop you the link real quick in Slack if you want to just open that up.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, we have one that we don't use super often, but it's leads. So anybody coming in who is either a potential client who's trying to get, into, let's say, on the podcast with Josh, just anything like that we're like super interested in, that would be kind of like a hot sale almost. We just mark it as a lead. Anything that needs Josh's response that I can't respond to, I guess I'm the blocker on it. We mark as needs action. Anything that I've read, that I've okayed, that I've cleared, whatever we need to do for it, we just mark it as read only. So Josh can go in, kind of scan it and be like, oh, this is what this is about. And then he can archive that when he's done. Awaiting response is something that I've already responded to, and we're just waiting for them to come back. Just seeing maybe there is a pending blocker that we need to know from them, that I need to get an answer for Josh, kind of thing. And then delegated is things that I've already taken care of. They're off the radar, and Josh doesn't even need to see those ones. Then we have follow-up, which is another one that's not used as much.
Yeah, not a whole ton.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever used that one, to be honest with you. Most of the time they kind of just go up into a waiting response. Yeah. But again, it's need by need basis. Whoever, if you're looking to do this or hire an assistant, you could always use it. Then we have subscriptions. So everything is actually filtered, and automatically that is a subscription goes into another folder. So those are things that we don't even have to deal with.
These are things that like I want to read. So like I subscribe to newsletters. I buy products from brands. Like I'll click on ads and I buy stuff like every other day. And then some of them I'm like, I just want to get their emails because I love seeing what they're doing. I love seeing their branding. I love looking at their stuff. And so Brei will create a filter. And if she doesn't know, she'll say, hey, this is a new subscription that came to the inbox, but it's not being filtered right now. What do you want to do? And I'll say, hey, list that as a subscription. Or I'll say, just unsubscribe from them. And so then I can go in at my own speed and go to the subscriptions tab or in my inbox, and I can just read in my own pace, but it doesn't clutter the inbox.
Yep. And I promise you, if it's a good ad, Josh is going to buy it. I've seen his order delivery things come through the email.
Yeah, I just bought a $200 scale the other day.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, Josh is doing Christmas shopping again.
Yeah.
And then we have receipts and invoices, which again, those are just things that Josh really doesn't need to see at the time. So I go ahead and take care of those. I'll mark them, and if he needs it, he can go and find it. And then references is just things that we use for team travel, personal travel, so flight information, hotel bookings, anything like that goes into references until that trip is over, and then we just get rid of the tag and archive it, and it just goes into the abyss of when we need it again.
And I think inbox management was probably one of the things that I outsourced right out of the gates. I did the tagging system. I did it myself for just a small bit in preparation for you to come on, and then I handed that over to you, and I think that has been wildly helpful. Like, imagine never checking your inbox. Like, you should not be the first line of defense for your inbox and that includes your DMs as well. So like Brei responds as me or on my behalf to everything. If it's important enough, she'll Slack it to me, or she'll text it or message it to me and say, hey, I need you to review this or respond to this. Or how do you want me to respond to this? And I'll just tell her, and then she'll do it. I think inbox management is another one. Calendar, and I'm not going to go through all of these. I just wanted to get into that because I think that's really, really valuable. But yeah, so we have a database that houses all of this, along with, we do profit first. And so like we have a calculator that calculates just distributions for you to transfer. A lot of good stuff, daily reports, weekly reports. Maybe one day for our clients, we'll give out this entire Notion database template. But for right now, this is all kind of housed internally. But let's kind of keep moving on here. Okay, so coffee management system, super cool. I do believe that everybody needs to have a centralized place in which you're operating your life and you're operating your business. It makes everything just way easier when Brei or your assistant has access to like, oh, this is our lawn care person, this is our dentist, this is our, whatever, and then can take care of that. And so that's like the big system. And we kind of started getting into tasks a little bit. I want to talk about, let's talk about the tasks that you do, like the major tasks, and how much time you spend on those. I think it's cool to get a bird's eye view of like how much time it actually takes to do those things.
Yeah. So starting with like inbox management, I'd say between like our mentorship program and then his email, I probably spend between like 2.5 hours, I'd say a week, doing those things. It's not terrible. But it all depends on the week of, how many people, especially during Black Friday, lots of emails. So that takes a little bit more time, but working on that. And then scheduling things, again, depending on the week, I probably spend about 30-ish minutes doing different schedulings, whether that's with outside people or different team members or our own clients, about 30 minutes a week on that one. I do some things with finance. So like Josh mentioned, the Profit First. That one's pretty easy. Probably spend about 10-ish minutes a week on that one. Not super hard. Preparing meetings is something that I do daily. So we have a couple different meetings that Josh and I are in even in the team that we're in. About 30 minutes for that one too a week. It's nothing crazy. And then I attend meetings either as myself or with Josh to basically just make sure everything is going the way it should and we're on the same page. The team's on the same page. That's probably about 2.5 to 3 hours a week, depending on the week and what's going on in the business. I do a lot of meeting recaps. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but if you have a one-on-one coaching call or something, then I will send a meeting recap for him, saying this is the action items that Josh gave you. This is what you guys talked about, just to help the client or whoever he's speaking with keep up and make sure that all of the boxes are checked at the end of the day.
And we actually, so it's really cool. So we have a software, and I highly recommend if you do like one-on-ones, whether it's with like your team or whether it's like someone outside of that. I use a tool called Otter.ai. It's a really neat tool, and it's really good at recapping. It's come a long way. And it goes into all of my Zoom meetings. So it's like Otter AI, there's Fireflies, there's a lot of different ones. But AI note-taking tools are really valuable. So like Otter AI, I'll do, because I have certain clients that I work one-on-one with. And so I have a couple one-on-ones and we have some partner brands. Like I'm doing a meeting and I was in a meeting 2 days ago and it was 3 hours long with that partner brand. The idea of me taking that many notes, I mean, first of all, it's going to distract me, so I can't just focus. But the idea of me taking 3 hours of notes, like, it just makes no sense. Yeah. So, what happens is the Otter AI can get in there, and it will record everything. It will summarize all the major meeting points that we hashed out with the key takeaways, along with action items, with who is responsible for each based on who's in the Zoom room. So, like, I will just do the meeting, and then Brei, once that it's processed everything, it'll notify us, and then Brei will go in and she will send a more personalized email and clean up the action items in case there's anything that's like kind of off there.
Yeah.
Because it's like 95% correct. There's like 5% it's kind of weird or it's wrong. But she'll correct it and then she'll send it. And I think that's wildly valuable. So I'm able to just sit on the meetings, offer my insight and offer my expertise, and then I get off the meeting, and then Brei's able to take that off my plate, which is really freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'd say Otter AI was a game changer too, because I think for like a week or so, I sat on every meeting that Josh was in and I tried to take notes. And if you guys have been listening for a hot minute, you know that Josh talks at 2x speed, so try to take notes on that. It's pretty tricky. So that was a game changer for us, I feel like, because now we can accurately talk to or give our clients feedback and stuff. Even
me, what was kind of interesting is like I actually challenged to say, can I take better, more accurate notes in Otter AI for like a couple of weeks? And so I'd be on one-on-one calls with some clients, and I'd be taking notes and I'd write down all the action items. And I'm like, okay, let's see what Otter comes up with. And then Otter would come up with more detailed and expand and add more that I'm like, oh crap, I forgot that I said we would do that or that they should do that, and I didn't write it down. And so Otter was catching my stuff and more, and I was like, and more succinctly and more specifically, and I was like, you know what? Even with like our terminology and our lingo. So that was a game changer. It's like $30 a month, never have to take notes again, and your action items will completely be recapped, which is really valuable.
Yep.
Love that.
So yeah, after a meeting recaps, I'd say the rest of my week is probably just working on projects that Josh offloads to me, whether that's scheduling different appointments like personal appointments, dentists, haircuts, anything like that, planning company events, working with the team, planning personal events, keeping our office clean. That's a big one for me because I know I like my space clean. I know you like your space clean. Yeah. So keeping up with that. All in all, I'd say everything probably takes me 10 to 15 hours to keep up with offloading projects.
And actually, I would say, so even getting up to that, if I look at like everything adding up, because I have these notes in front of me looking at this. So inbox management, and you even prep, every week we send our clients an NPM weekly, and we have like wins in there and updates and things that are coming. Yep. And I write the emails because I always write a story, and then I share my observations on like the market and meta and stuff like that. But Brei goes and does all the work. How much time does that take you, do you think?
I'd say it probably takes me about 30-ish minutes.
Per week?
Yeah, just to get all the links and find all the wins from our clients and making
Yeah.
sure that they're okay with us sharing them and all of that stuff. It probably takes about 30 minutes.
So even just in inbox management, I want everybody here that's listening and they're still hanging with us because this is a little bit longer episode. Let's look at inbox management, your email, your DMs. Let's just look at that. That's about 3 hours a week. You said 2 to 2.5, and then there's that. So like if you're at 2.5 to maybe 3 hours per week, I mean, that's a half hour per day, 30 to 45 minutes per day. Spent on that. And so I would just ask anybody here, like, what's the value of gaining 30 minutes a day of your time? What could you put that into that you love and then is your zone of genius that moves the needle and allows you to move with greater speed? You talked about calendar, that's a half hour. You looked at finances, transfers, prepping meetings, and then of course attending meetings. If you have a virtual assistant, then you don't have to worry about that as much. One-on-one recaps. And so just up to that point, you're already looking at like 5-6 hours a week just in some of those small things, not including the bulk of it. Like you just said, offloading projects for me, that's like a master chunk of it.
Yeah.
Like 10-15 hours at least.
Sure.
Probably more than that, but yes,
yeah, that was generous.
Yeah. All right. So good amount of stuff in here. If I were to add them all up, I'm looking at this, you're full-time in our company. And I think one thing that I thought was this is like, well, how many hours, for anyone considering an assistant, you're like, well, how many hours do I need for an assistant? And most people say, well, you can start with like 10 to 20. And so my recommendation is that you do start with 10 to 20, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
And you know what I found out real quick? Oh, there's way more stuff that Brei can do that I didn't realize until she began. And I think you were literally full-time by week 2.
Yes.
Was it week 2 or week 3? Or was it week 1?
First day, and I was there. I wasn't there the whole day.
Yeah.
The next day, it was like, oh, I have all of these things for it. And then from there on, it was like, okay, yep, I'm full-time.
Yeah, because we only allocated for you to be like 20 hours a week or something like that.
Exactly.
And then literally from day 1, we're like, oh, crap. There's a lot more that you can do. So one thing I've learned is like a lot of times you wait on the hire because you don't know how much they're going to have to do. But when you have the right person in the right seat, you'll find that they can do that, but they can also expand beyond what you thought was possible because you weren't dedicating your full time to doing those things. So for example, we hired Isaac as our head of client success. And I'm like, I don't know how much time that's going to take. 20 hours a week, but you know what I knew? I knew that when you hire someone who is an expert and great and they're the right fit in the right seat, they will expand upon the thing that you're hiring for to be greater than what you were doing because you were not full-time doing those things. And so I think that's another thing that I've come to realize. So if you're on the edge of hiring an assistant, hire an assistant, commit for 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week. And if you commit for 20 hours a week, you're going to start to understand their capabilities and what the real time will begin to look like. Because there's projects where we're like, hey, we need to build an entire company hub like we have for the coffee management system. We need to build that version inside our company, and Brei's building that out right now.
Yep.
And it's like, great, I don't have to go do that.
Yeah.
And so I think the projects, you don't know the skill set of your assistant until you get to work with them, and then you realize that they could take and run with a lot of different things.
Yeah, and if you're an assistant listening to this, my biggest takeaway from the last 9 months that I've been here is always listen to your founder. Always. Like, I'll be in my office just doing my own little thing, and I'll hear Josh say something. I'm like, oh, there we go. Let's do it. Like the company hub is something that you've never really said straight up, like, hey, this is what I want. Yeah. But I'm like, I have the time right now. Let's just do it. So I would say always listen to what your founder wants, because that's another way that you can exceed the expectations, basically, is just making sure, like, I need a meeting. Okay, already booked before you're even done, kind of thing. So.
Well, even on my way here, like I'm literally I'm about to hop into a meeting with one of our brand that we are partnered with, and I just literally texted Brei. I said, Brei, we need a meeting for 11:30. Can you schedule with Kylie and Connor? And then like I could just send that stuff to Brei while I'm doing something, and then Brei can handle it. Like, there's so much value in communication, but then also overhearing. That is really, really freaking awesome. And we're in person too, so that really helps as well.
That does help,
yes. Let's talk about like what our meeting flow and our relationship kind of looks like from that, like how we work from a communication standpoint.
Yeah. So Mondays, we always start. We have a longer meeting on Mondays, so Tuesday through Friday, we're meeting like 15 minutes. Sometimes it goes over a little bit, but 15 minutes is allocated every single day to just catching up on what happened yesterday. What emails do I need to do? What questions do I have for Josh? But Monday mornings, we go through the entire week of the calendar, any events, birthdays, anniversaries, anything like that is coming up. And then I make sure that I get Josh's top 3 priorities so I can help him stay on top of those things to make sure that everything is done throughout the week. We go over all of the offloading things that he does. We both work on checklists, a lot of checklists. Yeah. So Josh has his own checklist, and at the bottom of it, he has an offloading section. So I can go in, literally, I don't even have to talk to Josh if we didn't want to. Like, I could get everything off of this checklist, and I just throw it onto a different one, and then we go over and touch base with like, okay, this is what needs to be done. Do I have any questions about that task? And we just cover the bases on that. And then I just have my own little system within that I work off of. And then we also go through past meetings. So if there's something that Josh needs done on that past meeting, it's like, okay, I met with this client yesterday. Can you do this for me? Just looking throughout the week. And then we also have a section for feedback loop on projects that I'm working on. So that kind of goes with anything that Josh is working on or Josh has offloaded to me. What do I have for him? What questions do I have for him? And then another big one is email. So any email that we actually label as needs action goes into our Monday morning meeting of the emails throughout the week, because we're building it out through the week. So we're looking at the same thing, but we go over it on Monday, if that makes sense. But any email that it's marked as need action gets put into this, we call it our rundown, and he can just pop in whenever he gets a chance and go through those emails, basically. So that's our Monday morning meeting. It takes 30 minutes is what we have allocated, but again, sometimes it goes over by like 15 minutes or so. And then our weekly meeting or our daily meetings, every morning I've learned from Josh, every morning I go through cash position. He's big number. That's the first thing we start the meeting.
All I want to know, first thing, what's your cash position?
Exactly. It's the first block on our little thing. But it's always cash position. What are we sitting at today? So we go through that. We go through emails. If there's anything that is in the needs action section, I'll say, hey, so-and-so sent you an email. This is what they do. Do you want to respond or do you want me to? And if he wants me to, he just gives me a quick rundown of this is what needs to be said. This is how you should say it. And then I just move on. And then same with our HQ for our mentorship program is going through and saying, hey, this person has messaged you about this. How do you want me to respond? Or if it's too mathematical, I guess you could say, because unfortunately my brain isn't where Josh's is just yet, but we're going to get there. Some questions I just can't answer. So I'm like, hey, this person sent you a message. Let's just hop in. And if you can give me the answer, I can do it. If not, if you could just hop in and figure it out for me. And that would be our daily meetings. So clearing emails, clearing inboxes. And then I send him posts throughout the day of different feedback that he needs to do for our mentorship program. And then Josh himself has one where I go in and I add all upcoming appointments for the day. He fills out project of the day. So if he wants to work on, let's see, right now he's working on, he has filming 2 podcasts. So we have the 2 podcasts in there that he needs to write. And as soon as
it's an empty day. Technically, I'm on paternity leave right now, so my day is pretty empty.
There's literally our appointment section say no appointments today. Yeah. That's it. But he has little things that he's working on right now. But normally he's got 5 or 6 projects in there that we just want to make sure that we're staying on top of. So he has all of those in there, beginning of the day tasks, end of day tasks, any offloading for me, like I said, and then any thoughts for tomorrow. So if he's going throughout the day and he's like, hey, I want to do this tomorrow, he'll just throw it in his checklist. But then we go over both of those checklists, mine and his, throughout the week on our morning meetings.
Yeah, so I think the real value here is like you need a good cadence. And I think, so we start the week with a weekly cadence. We say, what's the weekly rundown? Here's the scope of the week. And I come in with, here are the top 3 priorities. If we did nothing but these 3 things this week, it would be a success. And so we come in and then we have a whole rundown of what's ahead in the week, what I need to offload to Brei priority-wise. So what this means is that you have to become better at planning and not procrastinating. And so you have to I come to that meeting with, these are my priorities for the week. This is what I need offloaded. Here's the week at a glance. We'll look at calendar events for the week too. So Brei will have every calendar event in this doc, and we will use the doc for the whole week. We just reference the doc and we bookmark it. And then each week we start a new doc. And we'll look at every calendar item in the time of each of those. And we'll go through the calendar and then I'll just say, cancel that, reschedule that, keep all these.
Yep.
Or add this. And so like I'll just tell Brei what we need to kill or we need to reschedule or we just need to keep. And so we go through this whole calendar thing. So we have a picture of the week. And then our daily huddles, sometimes they're like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 is the most. We usually only block 15 for it. But they're really, really quick. It's a good place to say, hey, we start the day on the same page with what we need to accomplish. I know the cash position. I know her priorities. I've said, hey, here are 3 items. Like, can you go follow with this person? Oh, what did I do? In this week, I've sent you a couple just random things I've offloaded.
Yes.
What have I done?
One of them was scheduling your dentist appointment.
Thank you.
That was one of
Appreciate
them.
it.
Yeah, those were the
Sometimes I get thoughts in the car or the shower or while I'm making breakfast or dinner.
It's funny because normally we communicate through Slack, I feel like is what our top one is. But if I ever get an actual text from you, I'm like, yep, he's driving somewhere and needs something done.
Yeah.
That's how I know the difference between the two.
Yeah. Earlier this week, I'm at home and I'm sitting at my office desk and I'm like, I just got this new Apple mouse and it's not moving very nicely on this wood desk. I'm like, you know what? I don't have a whole desk pad like I have at the my regular office. So I just messaged Brei. I said, can you get me a desk pad for my home office? And she's like, it will be there Friday at your house. I'm like, thanks.
Slippers are my favorite ones. The one time you were like, I need new office slippies is what we call them. And I'm like, got it. Let's do it.
And I got office slippers in my size. It was great. Yeah, so I think that just like anything, the system's only going to work as much as you actually prepare to make it work. And I hope this gave you some insight and ideas as to how maybe you have an assistant and this is a better way you can improve your flow with the assistant. And I know we didn't get into some of the weeds of what certain systems in here look like how does prepping our meetings go? How do some of these different elements go with projects and management and overseeing stuff? But essentially, if your goal is to buy back time as an entrepreneur, then you need to find somebody who shares the vision, and that you believe will possess the capabilities to eventually operate if you were to get hit by a bus and could make the same decisions and say the same things how you would say them as you. The only way that comes is over time. So obviously you're learning how I would do stuff over the last 9 months and you're only getting better. Like we're to the point now where like Brei knows how much I would want to spend on buying a certain thing. Or we just had offices renovated and she knows like, oh, if we're going to do this, we're probably going to have to get multiple quotes because Josh doesn't just want one quote on these renovations. We have to have options so we can start to work around stuff. Yep. And so, yeah, it takes work. I mean, just like anything, just like any person that you hire, it takes work. But I do have a question for you. And before we kind of close out here. So for you in this role, what drives you? Like, what do you like in this? Because one thing that I always had a hang up on was like, I never wanted to hire an assistant because like, I didn't want them to feel like less than. I didn't want them to feel like, I'm giving you the crap work or I'm giving you the stuff that I just don't think is worth my time and it's under my value. And while some of that might be true, I never wanted to come across like that. And I always kind of struggled with that. So like, what's your perspective on that?
So for me, I know that my whole role is buying your time back. So the things that you give me never feel like anything less than, you know, either it's scheduling this or emailing this person. Like nothing feels different than what any other task would be, because I know that your job is to build this empire and I'm just I wouldn't say a little piece in it, but I'm just a part of that. And so my job is to make sure that you have enough time to do that. So I would say nothing really feels like it's just being thrown. I'm just getting the crap work. Like it all feels the same to me and it all excites me. And I really enjoy the day-to-day of, I have my things that I do every day, but not every day is ever the same. Like there's never a time where I'm like, oh, this is boring because I did it yesterday. It's always different. So I would say that's how I feel from the back end of it. I just really enjoy the different tasks that I'm handed every single day. Yeah. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad you do. I appreciate that.
I know they're not your favorite.
We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun.
We do.
Cool. Well, hey, I hope this episode was somewhat helpful, maybe gave you some more insight as to how we operate, steal some stuff, borrow some stuff. I know we've done the same thing to build our systems out. It's still a work in progress.
Yep.
There's still things that we're working on. We're continuing to refine it. But yeah, hey, if you want more episodes like this, if you want me to bring on other team members, if you want to hear other perspectives on roles and different ways of how like we operate inside our company, drop a comment, let us know, shoot me a DM on Instagram @JoshCoffee. I would love to hear it. And thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next episode.